Hello and welcome to my channel. Project Kickoff failure is a killer for the project. What if I told you there is a formula to guarantee your project kickoff and also to guarantee your project success? Stick around and watch this video up to the end, because at the end of this video you are going to get a blueprint or a guideline in terms of how to successfully kick off a project. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Oscar Mbira. I'm a certified program and project manager. This is the channel I use to help aspiring project managers and practicing project managers to succeed. So in this video, I'm going to take you through what is required, what are the steps you're supposed to take if you are to kick off a project. So let's start with the pre-project kickoff activities. The first one that you have to make sure you have gone through is to confirm the scope and objectives of the project. This is very, very critical. Every project must have an objective, or every project has got an objective. Every project has got a scope, which means you should be able to define and confirm what is in scope and what is not in the scope, what are the objectives and what are not the objectives of the project. This is very important as you prepare to kick off the project. So most of these scope items and objectives, you pick them from the mandates that you got from your organization, whatever type of organization it is, and whatever type of project you want to run. So scope and objectives must be defined upfront, must be confirmed upfront before you kick off the project. If the scope and objectives are not very clear to you, it's advisable for you to stop the kickoff until and unless the scope and the objectives of the project are very clear. Otherwise, you won't be able to explain the why to the project team. You should be able to explain to the team why are you embarking on that particular project. And that can only come if there's clarity in terms of scope and also in terms of objectives. So that is very, very important. Make sure you are very clear on objectives and scope of the project. What is in scope and what is not in scope must be very, very clear. Otherwise, you are going to start having scope creep as you move through the project. I hope you have enjoyed the video so far. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button so that you are the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel, and it will also help this channel to grow. Second pre-kickoff activity is stakeholder identification. So as you have been assigned to be a project manager, you should be able to pick influencers and also anyone with interest in the project. That is going to form part of what you need to put in your stakeholder register. So be able, either you run through some informal interviews, you can even look through old project reports or previous project reports, identify stakeholders that might have interest in this project or anyone who is going to influence. That is very important because it's going to help you in terms of what communication you have to share. It's also going to help you in terms of what reports can you share in the project. So if that is not very, very clear, I would advise you take a step backwards, identify the expected stakeholders in the project before the kickoff. You need these stakeholders or the list of these stakeholders so that we are able to invite the right people into the project kickoff, also the right people into the project team. So that is very important. Say for example, you can do an analysis on stakeholders from external, that could be vendors or even contractors, or you can even do it from internal, which could be different departments, different levels of seniority, and also different levels of contribution. The third pre-kickoff activity is identification of roles and responsibility. You will find that in most projects, these are defined earlier before the project is kicked off. For example, you might find it in the statement of work. So this is what is normally called a RACI matrix, R-A-C-I. So what does it mean? It means responsibility, who is accountable, who is consulted, and also who is informed. This is a very, very important matrix to form before you kick off the project, because you are going to walk through the members or that people who are going to attend the kickoff on the responsibilities and also the roles in the project. Remember, a role in a project might be different from your job title. So you come into a project, you are given a project role, not job title. So you can have managers or head of departments coming into the project, you give them a role as a tester. That is very normal. It has nothing to do with their titles, but it has got something to do with the way the project is going to be delivered, with the way the project is going to run. So that is very, very critical. Fourth pre-activity for Project Kickoff is the governance. So at this point, before you kick off the project, make sure you are having a very clear structure of how the project is going to be run. It's normally called project governance. Set up the structures. What I normally do in my project, I divide the project into work streams. So what we mean by work streams, these are specific areas which are expected to produce a specific deliverable in the project. For example, if it is a construction of a building, I will have a work stream for the builders. I'll have a work stream for plumbing. I'll have a work stream for electrification. I've got a work stream for roofing. So that is part of the governance structure. However, even if I have these work streams, I still have higher levels of the governance. For example, you have a project board, you have a project director or program director or manager, then you have a project manager, then you have the work streams leads, then you have the work stream leads, and then lastly, you have the project team that is going to execute the project. So make sure the governance structure is very clear before you do any project kickoff activities. You are going to present this governance structure during the project kickoff. So it must be very clear to you as a project manager. I've done this. I believe you can still also do the same. That is going to set the right footing for a project in the coming months or so. If you don't do that, you're most likely going to have some chaos. The sixth pre-kickoff activity is to prepare a summary of the project charter or brief. Why do we need this at the beginning of the project? You need this because you're going to present it to the members. Remember, we're not talking about the full-fledged project charter. It's a summary. It could be 1 page, 2 page, but make sure it's summarized. You're going to summarize it. You're going to present it to the project during the kickoff, project team members during the kickoff, and they're going to explain what the project is expecting to achieve, what timelines are expected. You're also going to explain the communication channels or communication types that you're going to use in the project, any identified risks that you're going to use in the project, any quality management that you're going to apply or quality strategies that you're going to apply in the project, any changes or configurations that you are going to apply in the project. It has to be summarized at this stage. You are going to develop this project charter fully during the initiation stage, where you are going to have full visibility of the project. However, in this case, this is just a summary for the purposes of kicking off the project. So therefore, it mustn't be very detailed. The sixth pre-project kickoff activity that you have to look at is the building of the kickoff agenda. So before you even start the kickoff of the project, you must build the agenda. You must prepare the agenda so that when you conduct this kickoff meeting, mostly, you are going to be going through this agenda and make sure that all that has to be addressed, all that has to be communicated is part of the agenda. So you need to prepare for the agenda. What I normally do is I create a set of agenda items without any order and then rearrange and also prioritize them as I go through. I'll rearrange and also prioritize them as I refine the agenda. So once the agenda is prepared, the seventh item is for you to create the presentation. So the presentation is going to help you to make sure that you cover all the areas, to also make sure that the participants, they are following what you're talking about. The presentation could be done either in a physical way, that is putting people in one room, or it could be done virtual or even online using tools like Zoom, tools like Teams, so that at least you present to the participants in terms of how the project is going to be initiated, how is it going to progress, who are going to be the team members, what are the roles and responsibilities in the project, and who is going to take the roles and responsibilities in that project. I've also created a free project kickoff checklist, which you can download from the link in the description below. I've also project kickoff activity is for you to prepare the communication plan. In this communication plan, you are putting down details on how updates are going to be done, the frequency of updates, probably what reports are going to be created, who is supposed to receive these reports, what is supposed to be contained in these reports, when are they going to get the communication, and who are the recipients of communications, either from start of the phase, start of the project, end of the phase, or in flight of the phase or stage. That is very, very important. If your communication plan is not very clear, when you kick off the project, you are not going to be able to explain to the participants how the communication is going to flow within the project. What tools are you going to use for communication within the project? That has to be very clear. For example, you might say, I want to use emails. Maybe there's also a specific software tool that you want to use for communication. These days, there are also some social media platforms in case you want to use them. So that message must be very clear in terms of how the communication is going to flow in the project. You do that as you prepare to kick off the project. You list down all the communication methods, the frequency, the recipients. That is what you're going to communicate during the project kickoff. It's a very, very important step that you have to do. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it will create a lot of chaos. People won't be able to know at what frequency are they going to get the updates, at what frequency are they supposed to communicate, and so on and so forth. So make sure that you have created a communication plan before you kick off the project. That is going to help your project going forward. The eighth pre-kickoff activity is to identify the issues and the risks. So what do we mean by this? As you prepare to kick off your project, you are able to see specific risks, either from your experience or from past projects within the organization. You can also go to the project closure reports. They also give you additional information in terms of what has been done before and in terms of the risks that are associated with such type of organization, with such type of project, and so on and so forth. That is very, very important. You can also visit the lessons learned log, where you're going to pick a lot of information, a lot of risks, a lot of issues that you can pre-plan as you go into the project. If you want to know more about the lesson log, I've done a video also on the lesson log. You can also check it on my channel. So at this point, as you prepare to kick off the project, and identify the issues, make sure you put them in the daily log. As a project manager, you must have the daily log as part of your tool. Any risks, you put them in the daily log. Remember, at this stage, most of these registers, most of these logs, they're not yet opened. You normally open them in the initiation stage. So, but you must have somewhere where you need to record that. For example, the lesson log that I've spoken about, the daily log that I've spoken about, that is also very, very critical, so that you don't lose any information from pre-kickoff, during kickoff, and post-kickoff. So you need to record that information. I hope you have enjoyed the video so far. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button, so that you are the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel, and it will also help this channel to grow. So the ninth pre-kickoff activity that you must make sure that you prepare is to identify any collaboration tools. For example, you can define for communication or for interaction, you might have Teams, you might have Slack, you can also have Trello or even Jira. So these collaborative tools are very, very important in a project. So they have to be defined so that when you kick off the project in your presentation, the participants, at least, they get to appreciate what collaborative tools they're going to use. They might even suggest better ones or alternative ones. You should be ready to listen and to hear from them if the suggested collaboration tools are going to be helpful and if they're going to serve the purpose. The 10th step in the pre-project kickoff activity is to set the milestones and also the timeline of the project. It must be very clear. During the kickoff of the project, you should be able to clearly define the expected milestones and their timelines. That is very important. It's going also to guide the team. It's also going to motivate the team on the milestones and also the timeline. What I normally do before I kick off the project, I have some informal interviews or discussions with the expected team members to understand what are the major milestones that can be recorded in the project. This is part of information gathering process. It varies from skill to skill, from project manager to project manager. But you should be able to say, this is the milestone, or these are the milestones for this project. You should be able to sequence the milestones. Which one comes first, second, third, and so on and so forth. And also the expected timeline. Say, for example, you might say, this milestone is going to take 3 months, 4 months. At this stage, you have not done the proper planning. So most of the items are estimates. But you use your experience, you use previous information, you use people's knowledge to estimate Say, for example, you're estimating that the first milestone is going to take 3 months, the second one 1 month, like that. So you're able to predict how long the project is going to take. Although this is likely going to change as you do the detailed project planning during the initiation stage. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing bad in making those estimations, because you're going to pull in participants from different departments, different areas, some external, some internal, and obviously they want to know how long is it going to take to run the project and which milestones are going to be achieved or targeted in the project. So that is also very important. You must have somewhere where you have identified the milestones, you also have identified the estimated timelines for those milestones, and ultimately the estimated timeline for the project. That has to be recorded before you kick off the project. If you want me to create more videos based on the ideas, the concepts, or any of the points that we have discussed earlier, or you want me to clarify, you need any clarifications, let me know in the comment section below.